Once upon a time, in a beautiful and remote village nestled deep within the forested mountains, people lived in peace and happiness. The village was small but proud, its houses neatly arranged along a dusty road leading up to a large clearing where the chief's house stood tall and sturdy. The village was led by a respected chief named Uncle Som, a wise and capable leader admired by all the villagers. He lived with his wife Aunt San, a smart and understanding woman, and their lovely daughter. Thida, a gentle, well-mannered girl known as the most beautiful in the village. In the same village lived a young man named Ferocious. He was well-educated, respectful of the law, and kind-hearted. He upheld strong morals and wanted to see the village flourish. And Ferocious was also close to the village chief's family. About 5 kilometers from the village lay a deep forest that villagers feared to enter. It was rumored to be home to a ferocious beast. Within the village, however, there were 4 brave forest hunters. Narun, a skilled rifleman. Yet, the clever one. Yan, an expert with a spear. And Esne, a powerful sorcerer. These men often ventured into the deep forest to hunt for food. So they possessed great knowledge of nature, magic, and combat. Not far from the hunters' homes deep in the forest lived a hermit monk. He was a master of spiritual chants and mantras. Sometimes he would visit the village to receive alms. The monk was deeply spiritual and often offered blessings when the village faced danger. One night, tragedy struck. A blood-curdling roar echoed through the peaceful village, followed by terrified screams from villagers. The ferocious snake demon, a mythical creature with the body of a giant serpent and sharp fangs, had emerged from the forest in search of prey. It slithered through the village, causing chaos and destruction, destroyed livestock and consumed animals. Then it disappeared into the darkness, only to return soon after. It had taken the chief's daughter Thida. She had gone behind their house to bathe. The chief and his wife were devastated by her disappearance. Fear and sorrow spread throughout the village as people mourned the gentle girl. When the chief's son-in-law Ferocious heard about the terrifying incident, he couldn't bear the thought of the village living in constant fear of the snake demon. He decided to take matters into his own hands. But Ferocious knew that facing the demon alone would be dangerous and futile. He needed help. As he walked through the village, he noticed the 4 brave hunters returning from their day's work in the forest. Ferocious explained what had happened and told them about the village's fear. He asked for their help in confronting the demon. Upon hearing this, the hunters agreed without hesitation. They knew that it was their duty to protect the village and its people. They had faced dangerous animals and harsh conditions in the forest many times before, and they were not afraid of a mere snake demon. After gathering their weapons and supplies, the 5 men set out into the dark forest. Ferocious had heard that the snake demon lived deep within the forest, so they had to walk for a long time before they reached its lair. As they moved through the dense trees, the silence was broken only by the sound of their footsteps and the occasional cry of a nocturnal bird. The darkness was thick and oppressive, and the men had to rely on their instincts and courage to guide them. Finally, after what felt like hours, they saw a faint light ahead. It was coming from a small clearing, and as they approached, they saw a small hut made of sticks and leaves. The clearing was surrounded by a circle of large stones, and in the center of the circle was a pile of bones and other remains of animals that had been killed and eaten by the snake demon. The men knew that this was the place. The air was heavy with the smell of decay, and the feeling of dread and danger filled their hearts. They knew that the snake demon was powerful and cunning, and they had to be prepared for anything. Before they went inside, Ferocious looked at his companions and said, "Brothers, we are about to face a terrible monster, and I know that all of you are brave and skilled. I am grateful to have you by my side. We must work together if we are to defeat it." The others nodded, their faces grim and determined. They knew that what they were about to do was dangerous, but they were ready to face the challenge. As they cautiously entered the hut, they found a variety of strange and mysterious items, including herbs, bones, and other natural materials. Some of these items were used for healing, while others were used for protection or to enhance their powers. Ferocious knew that the snake demon was a master of deception and disguise, and he warned his companions to be on guard. They left the hut and stood in the center of the clearing, the circle of stones monolithically surrounding them. As if sensing their presence, the snake demon suddenly emerged from the bushes, its eyes glowing red in the darkness. It was huge, its scales shimmering like 1,000 diamonds in the moonlight. Its fangs were long and sharp like daggers, and its breath reeked of decay and death. The men stood their ground, their weapons raised and ready to strike. The battle was fierce and intense. Snake Demon lunged and twisted, its claws and fangs ripping and tearing at the men's clothes and flesh. But they were prepared. Naroon fired his rifle, but the bullet seemed to bounce off the demon's scales, unable to penetrate its tough hide. Jed's quick thinking allowed him to dodge the demon's snapping jaws just in time. Jan's spear flew over the demon's head, narrowly missing its eye. Snae's magic spells crackled around the demon, but it seemed impervious to their effects. Just when it seemed that the demon was about to deliver a fatal blow, Snae stepped forward. With a flick of his wrist, he launched a tiny bullet towards the beast. But this was no ordinary bullet. Sna had spent years honing his skills as a sorcerer, and he had learned how to imbue bullets with magical power. This one was charged with an ancient and potent spell that would bind the snake demon, preventing it from moving or attacking. The bullet hit its mark, lodging itself in the demon's head. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the demon froze, its movements becoming sluggish and uncoordinated. It tried to shake off the magical hold, but it was too late. Snez had cast his spell with all his might, and it was binding the demon's limbs and restricting its movements. The other hunters took advantage of this distraction and attacked with renewed vigor. Naroon's rifle cracked again and again, and this time the bullets seemed to find their marks. They tore into the demon's flesh, causing it to writhe and thrash about in pain. Jan's spear found its way into the demon's chest, and finally, with a mighty roar, the ferocious snake demon collapsed to the ground, its life force slowly ebbing away. As the sun began to rise, casting its golden rays over the forest, the men stood panting and exhausted, but triumphant. They had slain the beast that had terrorized the village. The first rays of sunlight seemed to burn away the last remnants of the demon's power. With the death of the ferocious snake, peace was restored. The villagers no longer lived in fear and could safely return to the forest for firewood and food. Life in the village began to flourish again. As for Fereth, he continued to be a beacon of hope and knowledge for the village. He became a teacher, sharing his wisdom and skills with the younger generation, ensuring that their minds were as sharp as their tools. The village prospered under his guidance, and the children grew up to become responsible and productive members of society. Many years passed, and the memory of the ferocious snake faded into legend. But the tales of bravery and sacrifice of the hunters, and Fereth's wisdom and resilience continued to be passed down through generations. Their deeds became a part of the village's history, a reminder of the challenges they had overcome, and the importance of unity, courage, and knowledge. So the tale of the ferocious snake demon has come to an end. Thank you.